Well, hello there, Internet people. My name's Joko. I'm copying the introduction of one of my favorite commentators, but we're not here to talk about politics. Although I am American, I do not have a Southern accent like he does. Anyway, it's been a long time since I've given some feedback on a task 2. It was at the top of my Facebook, but it has picked this real, actual Cambridge question. Goes like this: in the future, nobody will buy printed newspapers or books because they will be able to read everything they want online without paying. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement? And he even include the give reasons for your answers and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. That's in every question, and so a lot of people leave it out of their practice questions, and they shouldn't, because that's important. To keep that in mind. They no longer say write at least 250 words, though. So let's break down this question. It seems pretty straightforward, right? With any time you get one of these, to what extent do you agree or disagree questions, you need to identify exactly what it is, if you can, the thing that the question is asking you to agree or disagree with. What is it? Most people read that and say, it's that nobody will buy printed books or newspapers. Nobody thinks to question the feasibility or the possibility of that everything people want to read will be online for free of cost. I disagree with that. I disagree with that part of the question. I don't think there'll be some things that will never be free. I mean, certainly it's possible that some things will never be free online, like the New York Times or something like that. Anyway, my foot itches. But even if you stuck with the first part of the question, nobody will buy printed newspapers or books. In this following essay, the writer is addressing that question, but very little attention is paid to the nobody part of it. Okay? Nobody is a very strong word. Nobody will buy. So if there are 10 people in the world who still pay for newspapers, well, then that statement is not true. And you can disagree with it. I disagree because it will never get down to nobody. If it read, in the future, fewer people will buy printed newspapers or books, that's a very different concept than nobody. Most people answer this question as if it's fewer people. And what has our candidate wrote. Maybe I should blow it up. Now, in my scheme of things, the colors have a meaning, a code that goes with them. Yellow is word choice or lexical resources. Do you choose the right words? Do the words express the meaning that you are hoping that they do? Are they spelled correctly? It is considered having been thought about carefully. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. A well thought out reply. It's already been mentioned. People will stop purchasing, or people will stop to purchase. If you stop to do something, that means that you stop what you're doing and do that thing. Okay. Like I stopped. In this case, I stopped to purchase some new. I stopped to purchase a pack of cigarettes as I was driving down the road. Okay, as opposed to purchasing, I stopped purchasing tobacco as I was driving down the road. But forget the second part. So, purchasing. This should be. People will stop purchasing newspapers and books in the future. The future. When's that? Because of the availability of these materials, same materials, online free of cost. I completely disagree with the above statement. Well, I don't like these references to where the writing is in relation. What if you're reading it upside down? I don't disagree. Point of view, not points. You have points, but you don't have points of view. Everyone has just one. In the following paragraphs, well, where else? Do you really need to include that last thought, that you will discuss your point of views? What does that sentence do for you? It gives you an opportunity to make mistakes. It doesn't do anything to advance the goals of the essay, which are to express your opinion clearly and distinctly and in a well-supported way in the succeeding years. The compared to when? Succeeding compared to when? Succeeding means comes after. In the years succeeding these, using succeeding that way by itself is awkward. And the, also awkward because now it has to refer to a specific succeeding years. In the succeeding years compared to now. Individuals will find it convenient, that means one thing, and feasible, which means possible. It's not a positive thing. To read from a newspaper. Well, don't they do that now? Compared to reading free of cost from the internet. People, okay, now here you've made a big mistake. Compared to reading. You must make comparisons in your writing, particularly in task 1, but even here. What are you comparing? You're going to compare, you need comparative adjectives. Not just convenient, but people will find it more convenient and more feasible to read news from a newspaper compared to free of cost from the internet. Now here we've got, once again, we'll find it convenient to read. Convenient reading newspaper compared to reading free of cost. Reading. You can cut one of those out with the second one. People find it feasible to reading news from a newspaper compared to free of cost from the internet. You don't need that other reading in there. Since a fewer population. No, fewer doesn't go with population. For fewer people. Right. Since a fewer people. What does that mean? Since a fewer population cannot operate gadgets like smartphones or tablets efficiently again. What do you mean they can't? Why not? I'd say that more and more people are able to operate gadgets, whatever those might be. Yeah, definitely. More people are able to use them. Therefore, they might find it difficult to read news online. Where did I read that before? Oh, I will read it later. Now, we've got a double conjunction here. Since population cannot operate gadgets like smartphones or tablets efficiently, what does that mean? Rather wordy, but since fewer people cannot operate gadgets, they might find it difficult. Not therefore. You've got since and a therefore in the same sentence, and you top it all off with a though at the end of that. But it's a little more less accessible. They might find it difficult to read news online. They do not pay anything for it. Okay, they find it difficult. All right, so though, contrast. They find it difficult, though they don't have to pay for it. Would paying for it make it easier to read? In addition to this, don't put the to this part. Old-aged people. No, it's old-aged people. Or aged people, I think. Are commonly suffering from farsightedness. Now this is very Southern Asian Hinglish or Urdulish seeping in. Okay? Suffer. Suffer does not take the present continuous tense very much because suffer is a stative verb. It describes something that goes on inside your head. Okay? If you don't know the difference between stative and active verbs, you can look that up. It's only useful when you're talking about the present continuous or the past continuous, and if you've grown around Southern Asians who say, I am understanding you completely right now. though they do not pay anything for it. In addition to this, old age people are commonly suffering. Okay? No. Old age people commonly suffer from farsightedness. Now, due to which the farsightedness is due to which blue rays emerging from screens could be harmful to their vision and can further deteriorate their eyesight significantly. Oh, this is a train wreck. It can further deteriorate their eyesight significantly. I have read deteriorate being used as making something deteriorate, but generally speaking, deteriorate is a non-transitive verb, meaning the action is on itself. Okay, things that just happen, like vanish, disappear, or so deteriorate doesn't. You can't deteriorate something. Deterioration just happens. This is why I believe that in order to avoid facing these issues, a particular group of people, older people, will prefer to purchase newspapers in coming years, regardless of their prices. You need a comma in there. Okay, what's the difference between will and would? We use will in a conditional sort of statement like this. If this happens, then that will happen. When we're pretty sure, we're confident that the thing is going to happen. We use would if we're not sure or we're being extremely polite. Okay, so saying down here, particular group of people would prefer to purchase newspapers in coming years, regardless of their prices. Likewise, good connection, I suppose. Reading books,
a gadget should be charged sufficiently to read any chapter from an electronic book. However, this is not required in regular books.
Besides, advertisements might be intrusive while reading free-of-cost books online. This has resulted in disruption and distraction while enjoying reading. Consequently, the reader who does not like disturbance while reading would opt to buy hard copies rather than read online.
Okay. Likewise, it's a good connector. Reading books online is the number of dropping. Yeah, that's good. How can it encourage people to do something in the future? Okay, it has a number of drawbacks, which will encourage individuals to buy hard copies in the future. Why in the future? Why not now? To elaborate in terms of charging, you're not elaborating. You can only elaborate on something you've already said. In terms of charging, a gadget should be charged sufficiently to read any chapter. Are some chapters harder to... Does it take more energy to read Joyce, at least from the computer's point of view? No. Okay, deteriorate. Likewise, charging. I don't get this whole charging bit. Besides is very conversational, very informal, like spoken English. Not a good connector to be used in writing. Besides, advertisements. I thought they were paying. Okay, might be intrusive. What might be? Now, you've done this many times here. You say could, all right. Would prefer. It might harm could be harmful. Here you say it might be intrusive. Is it? Is it going to be, or is it not? Have an opinion. All right. Now, might be intrusive while reading free of cost books online. This has resulted in the sudden shift in tense to the present perfect. Remember the present perfect, we use that to talk about things that happened in the past but have an effect on right now. I've eaten. I can still feel it in my food, in my stomach. I ate. I mean, it's gone. But has resulted means that it's affecting now. In disruption and distraction, why both? Right. While enjoying reading. Consequently, the reader who does not like disturbance while reading would opt to buy hard copies rather than read online. The reader who does not like disturbance while reading. Hi, I'd like you to meet short attention span Phil here. He likes being disturbed while reading, don't you, Phil? Yes, I do. Who does like to be disturbed while reading? And a weak point. In conclusion, although online reading would be free of cost, would it now? Are we sure about that? Maybe that's the thing you should disagree with. I think that people... here's why it's bright red. Because you never address specifically nobody. Nobody will buy books. Now, what's the opposite of nobody? Somebody. Or some people. Just a few. Doesn't matter how many. And people will prefer and to go for mean the same thing, I think. Will prefer books. Would go for books. Prefer to go for is not a good collocation. And newspapers for reading as opposed to doing what? As they are more convenient and easier for them. But not in general. Okay, so the points that you make are rather unconvincing or irrelevant even. So task response, it is support. So it could be a 6, I think, at least. Could it be a 7? Task response. No, because you don't address all parts of the question. That nobody really needs to be commented on at least once. As for the rest of it, it is what it is.